I sailed on Royal Caribbean's brand new Utopia of the Seas for 10 days and ate a lot and wanted to share with you my favorite things I ate on board. Up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and having tried Utopia of the Seas in the first couple sailings of the ship entering service, there's been a lot of food. I love going on cruises for the food, and as a result, I definitely was looking forward to the different options here. So today, I'm listing all the things I ate on Utopia of the Seas and what I thought of it. The first stop on Utopia of the Seas, in fact, we did 3 different sailings, 2 of which were revenue sailings, in which I paid to go on there, and the first sailing was actually a media cruise in which Royal Caribbean invited me to go on there. But for every single one of those sailings, I went to the Windjammer for the very first stop. I really love the Windjammer buffet because of the variety of food available here, and because this was an inaugural sailing, there were some upgraded items. There was filet mignon on the media cruise, and there was lobster and mussels and shrimp. And I don't eat mussels, lobster, or shrimp, but I am sure others would have enjoyed that. My favorite thing to eat at almost any buffet on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship, Utopia or otherwise, is the Indian food. I love Indian curry, and there's always a couple great selections here. In fact, with both Wonder and Utopia, you're going to find a special section just for Indian food as you walk into the Windjammer on the right-hand side. And I really appreciate that. They've dedicated more area for that, so I had a nice plate of Indian curry to start off my cruise. The very first night on Utopia, I actually got invited to go to the Royal Railway. Royal Railway is a brand new restaurant that is an immersive dining experience. It's as much about the food as it is about the show on board, and the idea is that you're actually boarding a train, and it feels like you're on a train because it moves, you have scenery passing by, and of course there are different sounds and things happening there, and it's a new platform for Royal Caribbean to deliver a great dining experience. What I love about this is that it's not just another restaurant. This isn't just a, hey look, it's another kind of this cuisine. Rather, it's about a show, and the show is immersive, so you're enveloped in the entire experience. And having tried it, I gotta tell you that Royal Railway, I think, is going to be a huge hit. By far, my favorite things to eat on Royal Railway was the corn chowder. That was absolutely fantastic. I actually listed as a vegetarian option, and it was really tasty. In addition, the short rib is excellent, and it's hard to go wrong with a good short rib, and I think they really got it perfect on Utopia. And then, I think the best thing on the menu, and listen, this is not to say that the rest of the food is bad by any means, but the desserts, holy moly, the ice cream cigar at the end is just something I would pay extra money for just to have elsewhere and not have to dine at the restaurant because it is that darn good. That is like the sleeper hit. Definitely try the desserts on Royal Railway Utopia Station. On day 2 for dinner, I was getting super into the busyness of everything that was happening on board, and I really didn't have time for a sit-down meal, so instead, I went to El Loco Fresh. El Loco Fresh is the Mexican restaurant that's available near the pool deck, and it's very much a casual grab-and-go. The 2 things I ordered at Loco Fresh was a chicken burrito and a large supply of tortilla chips. The burrito I think is actually really good for a prepackaged option. My favorite thing is to take it, put some hot sauce on it, it's so good. And then the tortilla chips, I just go straight to the toppings bar and load that baby up with as much pico de gallo as humanly possible. I add some guacamole and some lettuce and some jalapenos of course, but it's all about that pico de gallo. For the first revenue sailing, I ended up at 150 Central Park, and this is not just because my video editor Jenna demanded that we go there. Rather, we went there because, of course, the food is absolutely fantastic, and it's a sleeper hit. 150 Central Park is really new American food, is the best way I can describe it. The garlic bread, whatever that thing is, appetizer that first comes out, the beef tenderloin for 2, the fried cheesecake, those are all reasons to eat at this restaurant in and of itself. There's also some other very good options here as well, because I usually go for the fish and a serving of the cauliflower steak. Individually, they're okay. Together, I think they're a fabulous flavor pairing, and I really like that quite a bit. Next up was Izumi Sushi, and this is another favorite of mine because I just love sushi, and Izumi Sushi is one of my favorites to do on any Royal Caribbean cruise ship. I went with the chef's sashimi sampler. I thought that's a good choice. Feels like a little healthier in the grand scheme of cruising because there's less carbs involved, but I also went to make up for those last of carbs. I had the hibachi fried rice, which was really nice to have there. That way I had something healthy and something not so healthy, and it all kind of worked itself out. While the fried rice listed says it comes from the hibachi table, I don't know. I'm sure it does, but it's just not quite the same thing. Like when you have it fresh at the hibachi table, I think it just tastes a little bit better. Maybe it's just the perception, maybe it's the smells involved, or all of that, I'm not so sure. But it was still good. But at the end of the day, I'm really there for the sushi, and the sashimi was actually very good. I enjoyed that quite a bit, and it's probably one of my go-to dishes almost anytime I'm on a cruise. For lunch, we actually made a pit stop over at Playmakers, and I love Playmakers for just the easy casualness of being able to grab a meal there and, having nachos and a burger. Like, that's just classic lunch food, especially at a sports bar. Unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot of great sports to watch, so it wasn't like I had a ton that, there wasn't a baseball game or anything like that. I think there was like maybe Wimbledon. Wimbledon must be over, so I'm not even sure what I was watching. There were sporting events going on. It wasn't that exciting, but at the same time, the food there is really good. And while I don't love that the Playmakers on Utopia the Seas is outdoors because of the rampant heat and humidity, I can tell you that the meal was comfortable enough because I picked a table that was all the way inside, and so there's a little more air conditioning over there. And the food, of course, is great and satisfying. It's great comfort food, and certainly something my family looks forward to, especially the campfire cooking. I did not partake in it, but I can tell you for a fact that our research team here, Angie and Jenna, tackled this bad boy and had no problems at all enjoying that. That's a must-eat for them on board, and I know that a lot of people enjoy that as well. So, yeah, the campfire cookie is probably something you definitely want to give it a try. Unless your name is Fane from the Travel Spree channel, he absolutely hated it, but he's the only person I've ever met who did not enjoy that. And for our final dinner on the revenue sailing on Utopia of the Seas, I took the team out to Giovanni's Italian Kitchen. Royal Caribbean has really had a huge success, I think, with Giovanni's in general. This is the latest edition of the Italian restaurant for Royal Caribbean, but they really took it to the next level with a fantastic location overlooking the boardwalk. So instead of being somewhere else on the ship like Central Park, this is located on deck 12, and it overlooks the boardwalk area where Wonderland would have been on other Royal Caribbean cruise ships. And I think that the combination, of course, the great menu and the views here are really nice. It's an expansive restaurant, great decor, and for when I go to Giovanni's, I almost end up getting the same thing. I get a pizza. In this case, I got the Primavera pizza. Usually I get the margarita. I think the margarita is probably the best one, but I wanted to mix it up and get the Primavera pizza, hold the olives, and I got the chicken parmesan. In my opinion, when you go to an Italian restaurant, chicken parm is always a safe bet. It's a good way to judge almost any Italian restaurant. In the same way that at a Chinese restaurant, General Tso's chicken is a good way to judge that. I just feel like it's just a standard offering. It's usually a safe thing. You have to worry about being, too good or too bad. But in this case, I really thought it was an excellent choice. I've had it a couple different times, and I love how tender the chicken is, and I love the combination of that pasta together. It's really good. Personally, I'd prefer to have a little more sauce there, but, I'm just nitpicking with it. I was very pleased with my meal at Giovanni's. For the second revenue sailing, we went to actually Coastal Kitchen for dinner, and Coastal Kitchen is included when you're staying in a suite on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship if you're in a Grand Suite or higher. I got to admit, it's taken me a long time to warm up to Coastal Kitchen. I never really saw the great appeal of it in the sense that I just preferred other restaurants, especially specialty restaurants, but I wanted to give this a try. And the best thing about Coastal Kitchen in general is the first night they have their filet option there. And for a lot of folks, that's the best steak they're going to offer throughout the cruise. So we decided to go there. And I got to say that Coastal Kitchen on Utopia, first of all, beautiful location, overlooking the back of the ship, so great views out there, and the service was impeccable. It was really nice having such great service. I was sold on Coastal Kitchen as soon as I saw they had the French onion soup, not only available that day, but every day of the cruise. I'm actually a little depressed I didn't order it to my room every day of the cruise because it is that good. I love the French onion soup on Royal Caribbean. I don't know what they do to it to make it so good, but it's something that I always order if I see it on Royal Caribbean. When I have it on land, it's just not the same thing, but I can tell you that I really did enjoy that. Similar to 150 Central Park, I ended up going with the combination of a cauliflower steak and the branzino. And while I think I prefer the fish over at 150, the branzino was really good, and it felt like a good, satisfying meal, a little on the healthier side, and that made me feel better about my decisions overall. For my next dinner, I got a chance to try out the brand new Izumi Omakase dining experience. This essentially is like a chef's table for Japanese cuisine. Brand new, never offered on any other Royal Caribbean cruise ship, and as somebody who loves Izumi, I was very excited to try something completely new. This is a table in which there's up to 6 guests, and you sit with, 6 people, whether or not you know them or not, and it's a communal meal in which you have a hosted experience in which the chef properly curates a meal just for you. It's 8 courses, and while that sounds like a lot of food, because it is, it was actually a lot less food than I was expecting because the portions were smaller. And in general, I just think a lot of Japanese cuisine, especially sushi, is not as filling as other meals. But overall, I was very surprised how much I enjoyed it. I wasn't sure what I was going to get in there. I was actually worried I wasn't going to be full enough from the meal. I thought we were going to have to go to the Windjammer afterwards. That's why I booked the 6 p.m. seating. But number one, there was plenty of food, and I wasn't hungry leaving that. Number two, the quality of the food really stood out to me. So much of the food being served at the Omakase experience is definitely higher grade food overall. In fact, the miso black cod, oh my goodness, that glaze, I would love to get the recipe for that. It was that good. I would make it at home like almost every day. It was fantastic. Of course, there were a few good sushi options as well, and it really felt like the servings were a little more plentiful, like bigger pieces of sashimi that were served there. And obviously, the attention to detail is fantastic. Now, in addition to all that, they also give you sake with every single course. And I do love sake, some more than others, and it's nice to be able to try different ones. But needless to say, I had a good time, and the experience really opened my eyes to a higher level of dining. And I would recommend it to anybody who loves sushi and loves Japanese cuisine. This is a great spot for you. The one restaurant I didn't get to try in Utopia of the Seas, at least this time anyway, was the Spare Tire. The Spare Tire is a new option right at the pool deck, and it serves snacks. And basically, these snacks are things like tornadoes and sandwiches, and it's a lot like, I hate to use the comparison, but it's the best one out there. It's a lot like gas station food. If you've been to a 7-Eleven or a Wawa, and you've been to the cold food grab-and-go section, that's essentially what it's like there. Now, there's two reasons why I did not eat at Spare Tire on these particular sailings of Utopia of the Seas. Number one, I really wasn't on the pool deck. Being that it was July, it felt like the surface of the sun outside, and I know this is like a matte thing, but it was too hot for me. I just wasn't there. And really the appeal, of course, of the Spare Tire is that you're at the pool, you're having a great time, but you don't want to go too far to go get something to eat. You're getting a little peckish, but you don't want a full meal, just want to keep your day going, so to speak. And that way you have something very convenient. It's not meant to be a meal, it's not supposed to be elevated or anything like that. It's just something to tide you over. Now, I will admit also the other reason why I didn't eat anything at Spare Tire, at least on this trip, was that yeah, it wasn't the most appealing food to me. Like, I wasn't like, oh man, I can't wait to try a tornado. Now, I will try this. I'll make a point of it. I actually like having some things to try later on. It makes cruising a little more interesting for me. So I always like to leave one or two things to try on the next sailing, and we'll be back on Utopia of the Seas in October. But this just wasn't the thing I got to around this time, and hopefully in October it might not be quite as hot out, and I might be able to enjoy the pool deck just a little bit more. Let me know in the comments below what surprised you about the food I tried on Utopia of the Seas, and what are you looking forward to trying? If you've been on Utopia already, let me know your favorite foods on the ship, because again, I'm going back again, and would love to get some good recommendations. While you're down below every video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube lets me know of a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.